All right, here we go. This is episode number 15, Har, of the Al
Wow.
G's podcast presented by Parx Sportsbook. You believe that? 15?
15. That's 15 straight weeks. So we're into our almost 4 months of this.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's lasted that long.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Which means two things, Har. Spring is just about here,
Right.
and the Masters is only a couple of weeks away.
It is. And I just got done with the Players Championship yesterday, which seemed to take about 2 weeks to play because of all the rain that they got down there. But yeah, the Masters, just 3.5 weeks, whatever it is, away. And that's the sign of spring for me. Like some people say, it's spring training. Well, I don't even know if that's started yet, even though since we were last together, they've now come back and they have a baseball season, and apparently they're going to play a full season, Jason, and they're going to get started in early April.
Okay, so baseball is back.
Spring is here.
Yeah, and you're right. The Masters are the sign that it's time to head to the pick up some flowers to plant some stuff and get ready for warmer temperatures. Before we get to our guest on this episode, let's tell people real quick about Parx Sportsbook. The tournament starts this week.
Yep.
It's going to be insanity, of course, and then you still have the NHL post rest of the season in playoffs. You have NBA rest of the season in playoffs. So you looking at anything?
Yeah, I am. I looked at some of these early lines for the NCAA tournament. 2 games jumped out at me on Thursday. I'm looking at Boise State getting 2.5 against Memphis. It's a 145 tip on Thursday afternoon. I love Boise State in that game. They got a couple of transfers in there. They got one of the best scorers in the country. They're going to be a handful from Memphis. I'll take
play on a blue court, Har?
I don't think they have the blue. They've got the blue turf up there for the football games, which drives me nuts. If ever I watch one of their games, I get a headache. But there's another game Thursday night, Vermont against Arkansas. I'm taking Vermont plus the 5, and I may even take them on the money line. I think they can win the game outright.
Wow, you say Vermont.
Yeah.
All right, so grab the Parx app, get all your action in, open up a bet, open an account, deposit. First bet is risk-free up to $500. And it's real simple to use, and you're getting all the action, player performances, same game parlays, you name it. It's all there. You can go traditional and spreads, props, all that stuff as well.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow Parx on the social channels at Parx Sportsbook on Twitter, on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as well.
Yeah, and I just downloaded the new version of that app this morning, Jason. It's great.
Very navigable.
Very user-friendly.
I like it.
As they say.
All right, let's get to our guest in this episode. We haven't had a guest in a while, Har.
But he's in the bullpen right now.
He is. He's raring to go like a caged animal. It's a guy that we both worked with at the Fanatic, and he's still in broadcasting, and he does the daily show, the afternoon drive show on 94 WIP with Ike Reese. Let's welcome in our old friend and good guy, John Marks joins. Geez. What's going on, Johnny?
Let me check. Beautiful, man. What's up?
Let me check. You undersold him, Jason. Man, he's big time, dude. He's rocking. He is killing it in the afternoon drive time on WIP with Ike Reese.
Well, I didn't want him to come in with his ego all swollen for this show.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. I'm one bad book away from joining you guys.
Well, you better do it quick because this could be gone any minute.
It could be. I know. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing some type of a podcast or whatever. What's up, dudes?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, I'm about 3 weeks removed from COVID.
Oh yeah,
COVID lockdown for a couple of weeks. Yeah, the kids got it first, gave it to me.
So COVID's still a thing?
It is.
Oh man.
So
I just saw the other day that the Pfizer CEO is making the rounds, telling everybody they're going to need a 4th shot,
and a 5th, and a 6th, and a 7th,
right? Yeah,
and an 8th, and then
I stopped at 2.
You're not boosted, Har?
No, I'm not boosted. No,
I'm boosted. But,
are you?
Yeah, I'm boosted. But what did it do for me getting COVID?
Exactly.
Not a lot. Well, I mean, I really didn't get all that sick.
Right.
So I was good.
Well, good. You look good.
I'm going to take a 2 and a shot to be named later, Har.
Exactly.
I put on significant weight, guys.
Oh, yeah?
Significant. Yeah, I thought I was in great shape. I had lost weight during the pandemic. I was working out, and then I went to the doctor, and I went to my diabetes doctor, and they did the blood work, and they're like, yeah, you have Graves' disease. Graves' disease essentially is your thyroid's working too much.
Oh.
So I got on the thyroid medication. I put on 15 pounds.
No
So I actually
kidding.
wasn't in good shape. I was ill. So now I'm back up to like 175 pounds. My face is fat. I can see it right here. I need to get back in shape.
So in other words, this Graves' disease is a legit disease. It's not one of these ones that's made up by the pharmaceutical companies to sell pills.
Both. I believe it's both.
Okay.
It is real, but it's also used by the pharmaceutical companies to make a lot of money and to put weight on me.
Okay.
So I was feeling good. I was seeing friends for the first time. I'm like, wow, look, you put on some weight. I'm feeling good, and now I got the gut back.
Did they have that look when you walked in the door the first time? Like, whoa, hey, John.
So John Johnson, one of my colleagues at WIP, he gave me the, you lost a lot of weight. Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm okay. I've been working out. What are you talking about? Like, I'm healthy. And then like 3 months later, the doctor's like, yeah, you're not healthy.
Dude, what a shit sickness to have, Graves' disease. Like, what's next? Death. Hey, I have death disease.
Yeah, right.
Kind
of an ominous name.
I'm obviously
I got ball shrivel-upitis coming up next after that. Like, what's going on?
I'll just be dead. That's the next thing that's going to come.
Yeah.
So I'm type 1 diabetic. I have Graves' disease. I've had Guillain-Barré syndrome when I was 19. I had scarlet fever when I was in high school.
Wow.
My mother has lupus. My cousin has Crohn's. My other cousin has celiac disease. Autoimmune.
So those are autoimmunes. Yeah.
We're an autoimmune.
So you're an autoimmune man.
Wow.
So I'm just hoping my kids don't get it, which I guess it's probably going to get something. But yeah, I'm pretty unhealthy.
Sounds like it might be hereditary, John.
Yeah, it sounds like a genetic disorder.
Sounds like it. So who knows what's next? It said COVID. Right. My mother's having long COVID symptoms, problems, heart palpitations, high blood pressure.
I get those every day.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's great, Harry. Everything's great.
We're going to be blaming everything on COVID at some
I know.
The Kennedy assassination, COVID was there.
Well, you can make the case that it might have had something to do with the single bullet theory.
That's right.
I don't
know. How's it been going? The grind. Harry and I are out of the grind. Lather, rinse, repeat, Eagles and Sixers and all that. I'm kind of so much singular focused on the Flyers that cover the team for every day. So it's taken me out of the game in a lot of the other sports. But how's it been?
And I'm sure covering the Flyers on a daily basis is a lot of fun.
That's a blast.
I'm on suicide watch.
That's a blast.
Jason, you did it long enough. Harry, you did it a really long time. It is, and right now the season, it goes from the season to the playoffs to the Super Bowl to the beginning of free agency and the draft. Right now we're in free agency. It starts this week officially. And then you're doing, I want a wide receiver. I want I want Malik Willis. I want this. I want that. Then you have the draft. Then you have mini camps. I'm happy the Phillies are back because at least it gives us something that can happen on a daily basis to talk about. Because the 76ers are big right now, obviously too, with Doc Rivers, and he's such an idiot, and I had no idea we were getting such a stooge as the coach of the 76ers. But daily sports radio is you play the hits, man. Yep. I listen to Cowherd every day. I listen to a lot of the national shows every day just to see what they're talking about. And you play the hits. You talk the NFL, you talk quarterbacks, you talk NBA, you talk LeBron. You don't talk a lot of other stuff. College basketball, it's amazing with the tournament. It barely even gets mentioned anywhere.
I used to be so into this time of year, both you guys, and even me, who I still consider myself a devotee to college basketball. Okay. But my watching of college basketball has shrunk about 5 times. I probably watched 20% of what I used to watch maybe 5-6 years ago. Okay. And that's me. And I can still consider myself a hardcore guy for it. Okay. Just because to me, Temple stinks. Okay. That's number one. Because this time of year, we used to always be looking at brackets and saying, we're a 12 seed. Can we upset the 5 and all this kind of thing? And you'd be like, can we win 2 games? What a boost this will do for recruiting next year if they can, and all this kind of stuff. Now we don't have that. I haven't had that in years. I mean, during the whole Dunphy era. They made the tournament a handful of times, the first couple of years he was there. And now, they're not even in the NIT. They're not even in the fucking NIT. Do you freaking believe that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's an absolute joke. They win 17, 18 games and nobody cares. So that's number one. Number two is the one and done thing has worn me down because you no longer can sort of follow a team. And when I talk about a team, I'm talking about like the Dukes and the big teams in the country where you'd see them keep guys for 2-3 years maybe. And you sort of, man, I love this. Michigan State was always like that because they'd keep guys. And you sort of fell in love with these teams year after year to see them grow. And you're like, man, I really hate that guy, or I love that guy. And every Sunday afternoon in February, I'd be tuning into a Big Ten game and being amped up for it. I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah. Izzo kept his guys. The only guy that does it anymore, Har, is Jay Wright.
Right. Yeah. And, hey, I'm a quasi Villanova fan. I don't know how you cannot be because he runs the program the right way. He's a tremendous guy and a tremendous basketball coach. And all their players seem like, they're great kids. And, I was jealous and envious, and I still am to a large degree, but I kind of got over that sort of that anti thing where I'm no longer anti. I don't root for them, but I really enjoy what they bring to the table.
I do too. It's the same way. I would have never rooted for Villanova when Temple was good, and now tournament time, I'm rooting for Villanova because none of the other teams are in. I mean, think about this: St. Joe's and LaSalle. They played in the A10 tournament. I think St. Joe's was 11-18, and LaSalle was 10-18.
Yeah.
Right. I guess it is long ago now because we are old. Mm-hmm. But when I was growing up and I was a college basketball fan, all those teams were relevant.
I know.
LaSalle was relevant. They were in the tournament. And, all right, we're going back 30-some years. But, I mean, it mattered. College basketball in this town mattered. And it doesn't anymore because everybody knows Villanova's good. They're a national program. God bless Aaron McKee. I guess he's doing a good job. I don't know. But they're not relevant. Harry actually went back and I was looking at Temple's record year to year and how far they made it. And early 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, into the 90s, John Chaney had Temple as a national power.
No doubt.
And there was a period where Villanova wasn't good, right? So Villanova's in the Big East. The A10 was actually rivaling the Big East when you had Calipari and UMass. You had a bunch of A10 teams that were very good.
Some good Richmond teams. Yeah.
Yeah. You had good basketball in the city and even regionally. I'll watch the games this weekend. Obviously, the tournament games are fun. Yeah. It's not the same. I don't know. I was watching some of the conference tournaments. I don't know any of the players. Mm-hmm. I was rooting for Iowa because of Freddie McCaffrey.
Right.
So they were a good story, but I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, it's the idea of the tournament that gets you excited, but you're right. There's not nearly as much teeth as there once was to college basketball. It's not just a tournament; it's college basketball and I think the biggest thing is the one and done.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah,
because year in year out, it's a different team, and it's like, geez, I want to at least enjoy a ride of a couple of guys on the team for 2 or 3 years. You just don't get that.
Well, there's also the way it's officiated too. It's hard to watch games. There's so much fouling going on. They call everything, and these guys all want to shoot 3-pointers. And frankly, there's very few teams that are very good at it. So it's an ugly watch because guys are clanking shots left and right, and it's kind of hard to get into unless you have sort of a team that you have followed all your life or a school that you went to where you're an alum and you can kind of get attached that way. But then if your team doesn't perform year after year after year, you kind of lose touch with it.
Yeah. The idea of college basketball is the thing that's fading for me. Same thing with baseball. Like John, baseball is coming back. They finally get a deal done. And I know you're on the grind. And baseball, the thing that's great about baseball for talk radio is that there's a game that night to look at and a reaction every day. The problem is what are you reacting to? Because nothing's happening.
Yeah.
It seems like in the sport anymore. Like I just have such a hard time watching it. My ADD is off the charts. I know it, but
everybody else's is too, right? Like
yeah,
go to a Starbucks and and wait in line behind 4 people. And what are the 4 people in front of you doing?
On their phone.
Yeah.
Flipping through on their phone, and they're
Yeah.
not even looking at anything. They
Right.
just don't know what else to do with their
Nobody
with their
looks at
brain.
one another anymore. They're all just looking at their phones.
That's true. So like they're just scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or Twitter.
Just to avoid socialization, frankly.
Right. Go in an elevator. People immediately go to their phone because they're uncomfortable with their brain not being occupied for 3 seconds, and they don't want to talk to somebody else.
Right.
And baseball is the same way. Even in youth baseball, Jason, I know you have kids that are playing sports. I don't know if they play baseball. I know they're big hockey.
No,
kids.
I would have jumped off the bridge if they played baseball.
Well, I have all girls, but we played t-ball last year. We're playing softball this year. Just from conversations with other parents, these kids, they're on second base. They forget they're in a game.
Yeah.
You give them 5 seconds, they're wandering off, and kids like that age are like that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But add a kid that can't go 5 seconds without not paying attention to something, and it's bad. And you guys know this. We can't on the radio. I would love to talk about minor league baseball, but no one cares, right? Like Jason, you could go on the radio and talk about hockey for 4 hours, but no one's going to listen to it, or few people are going to listen to it.
Right.
So I have that internal debate, and at WIP, our demo is a little bit older and a little bit whiter than the Fanatic, so we can do more baseball than say if I was on it in the Fanatic. But
plus you had the games,
and we have the games.
Yeah.
So. But doing baseball outside of when they had the Aces, doing baseball every day is a grind. And like the first 2 weeks of the season, we treat everything like football. The NFL's ruined all the other sports, right?
Totally agree.
So the first 2 weeks of the baseball season, we treat it like it's the NFL, and then we realize, well, Jesus Christ, we have 4 more months of this. We can't do it. Right?
There's 150 games left.
Right. So you hope there's a dumb Girardi move, because that's what you talk about in baseball now. You talk about fights. You talk about guys flipping bats. You talk about bad manager. You don't actually talk about the game.
Right.
Because nothing happened.
Right.
Because there's no action.
You're literally watching grass grow.
No, that's why I love having Johnny on at this time of year, because I know he's a big baseball guy. He's always been a big baseball guy. And I think, you're sort of like me with college basketball, where you're hanging on there, man, and you consider yourself still a devotee to the sport. But so I wanted to ask you about the new rule that they brought in, because I think we're on opposite sides of this, because we used to talk about it. The DH is now in the National League, Johnny. We will no longer have 2 men on and 2 out, and the pitcher coming up with a surefire out. We can get a hit.
Yeah, I've given up the idea that the DH is many years ago. Actually, well, not many years.
Oh,
ago,
you
a couple
have?
years
Okay.
ago. I officially threw in the flag and said it's going to change. So I'm just going to. It totally changes the strategy of baseball.
It does.
It totally changes it. But think about this.
Yeah, but don't they overrate how hard it is to do a double switch?
For Joe Girardi, you can't overrate how hard it is to do a double switch.
Good point.
But since 1971, they've had, not even different rules. Think about how significant it is that half of the league has a designated hitter the pitcher doesn't hit, and the other half had a pitcher that hit for 50 years, for 40 years. It's insane to think that it lasted that long. And finally, they're getting on the same page. I remember growing up, they had separate American League umpires from National League umpires, to where the AL strike zone was a bigger strike zone, and the NL strike zone was smaller and tighter, to where now they did away with that. But like at some point, they had to actually have a uniform set of rules of what was going on. So for years, the Phillies, if you're a National League team, you don't carry a salary that's going to be a guy that doesn't play every day. So when you have an interleague series, that you're going to have a full-time DH. So a lot of times you're using a bench spot to do that. And that's unfair, because the AL team is carrying a salary to be a DH. Yeah. So I'm actually, listen, if having a DH in the National League is not going to solve baseball's problem.
No.
Right? It can help. They need more action. It's not about home
more
runs.
ball and play.
Get rid of the stupid ass shift. Yeah. That fixes everything. It does.
Get rid of the shift. It's huge. See, here's the problem. These nerds that have overtaken baseball, the GMs, the Ivy League GMs, they've gotten so good at figuring out how to win outside of what the sport actually should be, with launch angle and the shifts and everything else that they're doing, all the analytics. And I get it, it works, but it makes the product terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
these nerds that have figured out how to win have actually
Right.
hurt the game.
Yeah.
To where like a guy like Kyle Schwarber is going to bat 190 with 30 home runs and a high on base percentage, and these nerds want him.
Right.
Like
Right.
Kyle Schwarber, if you can't hit 200, but your on base percentage is 300, so what? Like I hate that.
I know. Me
That
too.
sucks.
I agree.
That's baseball.
Yeah. Baseball's become an algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know what, Har? I don't like algorithms.
I hate them.
And I'm certainly not plucking down my money to take my kid to go see a friggin' algorithm.
Right.
You know who hated the idea of putting the universal DH in was Chris Russo, Mad Dog.
Oh.
Oh, of course.
Oh, he's still
Like
living.
the DH in the National League is sacrosanct.
He's still living in 1950s when the Giants are still in New York. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, total purist. And
Yeah.
couldn't fathom that they didn't have that they would put the DH in the National League.
I don't know what you can really do, because I mean the sport is the sport. Sure, a pitch clock can help, and you can do things to speed up the game, but if you don't have more action within the bases, like
Right.
I know everybody loves to say, well, the home run saved baseball in 1998
Now
coming
killed
off
it.
the strike. Well, I mean, yeah, it really didn't, because here's what saved baseball: entertaining baseball. There was still action.
Right.
There were still doubles. There were still triples. Think about it. If you're at a game or you're watching a game, one of the most exciting plays in baseball is when a ball gets hit into the gap and it's rolling to the wall. Is it getting past the outfielders? It's going to the wall. The runner's rounding first. He's going to second. He's trying for third. The play at third base, he is safe at third base. That's more exciting than Kyle Schwarber coming up and hitting a 350-foot solo home run.
Yeah.
The game's 1-1.
Yeah, I totally
Big
agree with you.
deal.
I don't think anybody cares if the game goes 3 hours, as long as things happen and there's action. And I'm not saying it has to be a 9 to 8 baseball game either. You can have great games that are well pitched and low scoring, but things happen. You know what I mean? Like those 4-hour Red Sox Yankees games back in their prime in the early
Never complained about the
2000s.
time.
I couldn't get enough of
Never.
that crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we
And
never
like a pitching matchup was fine. Like a Maddox versus Randy Johnson was like appointment television, right? Now that's like watching paint dry.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jason. I don't think we wouldn't view one of those matchups today like we did back then. We've changed. We've changed as sports fans. We've changed as society, and
as consumers of sport.
The NFL has ruined these other sports.
Yeah.
It has.
It's so damn good.
Good. There's too much action.
Yep.
It's a perfect length of the season where you actually want a little bit more, but it's good you don't get a little bit more, and they give you a little bit.
Right.
And they add these. I mean, they keep making money. They keep finding these revenue streams. Now Amazon has Thursday Night Football. The broadcasters are making players money. Joe Aikman's making $18 million a year to do a freaking football game.
And never take a hit.
Yeah.
You know what? The NFL, what they did, they ruined other sports in a way because they televised their products so goddamn well.
Yeah.
Like it's so good on television. Like I won't go to a stadium.
It's better in television than it is live, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, think about it. Think about it. You go to, let's say you go to a 1:00 Eagles game. So you're down there at, let's just say 11 o'clock for tailgating. So you leave your house at 10 o'clock. The game starts at 1. Once you get out of there, out of the stadium, you get home. What is it? 6 o'clock?
6:30. Yeah.
6:30. So you haven't seen any of the other games.
Right.
Right. Like a lot of times when you're in the stadium, your phone doesn't work. So you can't it's hard to even see what's going on in the other games. And frankly, as much of an Eagles fan as I am, I care about what's going on in the other games
Me too.
and not just for fantasy football.
No, me too. You're exactly right. And there lies the other difference is, if you're a hardcore football fan, you care about the whole league more so than these other leagues. Like where
you're more educated on it.
Yeah, exactly. More the other 3 leagues, and I'm not throwing a blanket on all of them, but you care about your team, and you don't really give a shit about generally the rest of the league. But the NFL, it's different.
Yeah, I don't care about the Sacramento Kings, but I love the Seattle Seahawks.
I've never watched less. And maybe this is just because I have kids and I'm busier and everything else. I think it's a combination of everything, but I've never watched less national NBA games. When's the last time you watched Sunday Night Baseball if it wasn't the Phillies playing, right? Like, I never watched Sunday Night Baseball. No, thank you.
Right.
But football, NFL, I mean, even college football. I can't get enough of college football.
Yeah, me too.
More NFL, but I love college football. And now I'm working this overnight shift on Sunday mornings on CBS Sports Radio. So I'm on at 2 a.m. on Sunday mornings, and I'm watching the late college games. I'm watching the Pac-12 games.
Yeah.
I'm going on the air when Hawaii's playing.
Yeah.
Last chance Saturday bet on Hawaii.
Well, Johnny lived in Hawaii for a while. He probably loves the Hawaii. Do they still call them the Rainbow Warriors, or is that passe? No, you can't
Rainbow
use that
Warriors,
anymore.
Yes, they actually play because they condemned Aloha Stadium.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, so
that's where the Pro Bowl used to be for all those years.
Every year.
Not anymore. So they're building a new facility, but because it's Hawaii, it's probably going to take 20 years through all the red tape to build it. So they actually play in an on-campus stadium that they've kind of like constructed, which is more or less like a high school stadium that they're playing a major college program in there, which is crazy. But like So go into a game. I want nothing to do with going to a game at all. At all. I mean,
too much ag.
The drunken culture. I know people like to go down to the games, and this isn't a shot at those people. Like I would like to go to one game a year where I have good seats or I sit in a box.
Right.
But then you know what I'm doing the whole time? I'm looking at my watch, and I'm looking at how much time's left in the fourth quarter, and I'm deciding what time I'm going to leave because I want to beat freaking traffic.
Exactly.
It's just the wrong way to
You're not
think
enjoying
when you're at a game.
It is.
No.
It is.
You're not enjoying it at all.
I was at a Sixers game last Monday night when they played the Bulls, and I haven't been to a Sixers game since I had one of those mini season ticket packages that they still sell, but I used to have one for like 11 games a couple years ago. And I went down to the game we had a box with all a couple of my old buddies from Shippensburg, and we had a blast. But me and the guy who picked me up and drove me said, "Hey, 6 minutes left in the fourth. Let's get out of here." And we bolted out of there, and we got out right before the traffic hit, before the rain came, and I was home in 25 minutes. Had we waited, it might have been, an hour and 15 minutes. So I feel you, John. That's the way it works.
I sat in that lot for an hour and 45 minutes after the Billie Eilish concert on Super Bowl Sunday with my daughter.
Ah, jeez.
It's not easy to get out. Now, after the Flyers games, I'm right out.
Oh,
I've seen what that arena looks like these days.
Oh,
we actually have Flyers tickets were given away on my show.
Oh, yeah?
Today.
Yeah. How will you give those away today? What are you going to do? Put them on the wheel?
We don't have a
That's
wheel.
on the wheel. You got Angelo's wheel in there?
There's no wheel. I'd like to put Tony Bruno on the wheel that you spin around on the wall. Miss Robin can put him on that with a gag ball in his mouth.
I think they do that on Saturday nights once a month.
Oh, my goodness.
I got no idea.
When Tony win Mike's money, Mike flipped out. And we had all the pictures, like the show pictures of the different shows in the hallway. And somehow the Johnny Mark Sean Brace picture that was hanging caught the trash can when it flew. He was so pissed.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. What was Tony's reaction? Didn't he like stand up and walk off too? Wasn't it like a walk off?
Remember he brought his cat in?
I forget that.
He
brought his cat in?
He won. We did it with all the jocks. So John came in, you came in, Harry.
Right.
Tony came in, and we did Win Mike's Money, the Fanatic edition. And
Right.
Tony won it. And Mike didn't win. And they thought Tony was cheating.
Right, I remember that. Like they were
right.
saying that Robin was sending him the answers on his phone or something, right?
Exactly.
She was sitting in the hallway on the couch.
Because his iPhone buzzed.
Right.
Oh,
or his iPad. Yeah, look at the iPad, Harry. There's nothing on there. So,
oh my God.
So Mike's pissed off about that to begin with, and then we go to Sound Off that day, and people are just shredding Mike on Sound Off, and he just had enough, and I mean, just went off. Him and I fought for 4 days after that. It was unreal because I got the blame for it.
You missed those days, Jay?
Like a hole in the head. Oh God, no.
Good times.
I had a good time working with him because I think we did some really good radio.
There were some great times, man.
Yeah,
there were.
But holy shit, how's Ange doing?
Man, I don't
you don't see him much
when he retires. No, I never see him. WIP is it's different from the Fanatic, and I don't know how it is there now, but when we were there together with Nahagian, everything was like not one big show, but there wasn't.
Together. Yeah.
Yeah, everything was together, right? And WIP, it's almost like each show is almost like it's a separate station almost, right? Like everybody gets along. It's not like the old days of WIP where people don't get along. But I never see Ange. Obviously I see the camera, our buddy the camera.
Oh yeah.
Every day, and John Ritchie. But Angelo he's set to retire, man, and we're already in March. I do not know what the hell he is going to do with. He's going to have to do something else. He's not the guy that's going to be like, all right, going to move to Florida and drink coffee in the morning and sit by the pool.
Drive Gail crazy.
Like, yeah, that is not going to happen. He'll be bored after a week.
Yeah.
So,
me and Dale will be on the beach.
It's
Dale.
Yeah, this is going to be think about it. We're already halfway through March, and the way time flies these days, it'll be over, and then it's crazy to think WIP without Angelo. And
I know.
I have no idea what they're going to do.
Dude, I was there during a lot of those years when it was very territorial, maybe is the right word. But working with Ange, I never saw a guy that like poured as much into one show as he did every single day. Legal pads full. And I remember talking to him, being like, "You got all like." He's like, "If I need it, it's there. If I don't need it, I don't need it." But after a show, we would meet every morning when I was in management in their office, the morning show office, to have the morning show meeting, and he'd fall into the chair like he just ran the Boston Marathon in 98-degree humidity. Yeah. Like he spilled it the whole show every day. I was like, I don't know how you do this every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. Like yesterday
man.
on a Monday, sometimes you guys know this, you come out flat from the weekend and like, you just don't have it. And how that dude gets up every day and he finds something to scream about or to be passionate about. And everybody that I've worked with, I think that I've learned something from, right? And the thing that I've learned, and I knew that Angelo was a guy that was there pretty much every morning at 3:00.
Yep.
And he wasn't going to be ever unprepared. He'd be the most prepared person there. And to do that for 30 some years is amazing. But the fact that he's able to do it day in and day out for this many years and show up and have it every day. And a lot of and Angelo gets a lot of crap. Obviously, when you're this successful, that's what you're going to get.
Yep.
But as far as how much I respect him after being his colleague at WIP now, it's amazing what he's been able to do for this long. It really is.
No doubt about it.
It's insane. I mean, every day it was just like, oh my God. And I never had a problem. Like he was tough to work with some of the staff sometimes, but only because he wanted to see you work as hard for the station and the show as he was. Like you needed to commit or you were exposed by him.
He's demanding.
Good. That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. He's demanding. It's one of the things that with me, I'm not demanding enough. And I say this to Jack Fritz, my producer, a lot. I'm just like, man, like you don't realize how good you have it compared to some other people that I know in the business and that I've worked with in the business. Yeah. I wish I was more demanding, but it's just,
which is weird because you were a producer, so like what you can deliver as a producer. Like I never knew that until I worked with Mike. You know, I was stunned when they hired me. Like, yeah, you need to do this email and all this. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like at WIP, they came in.
They're just board ops. Yeah. They were just board ops all the time, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. Mike going to the Fanatic, it definitely changed the landscape of everything from, like you had said, Harry, it seemed like the producers back at WIP before just kind of came in and pressed buttons and it was up to the host to, they're going to talk about what they're going to talk about.
They produce the show.
They're going to ask you, right? But they're coming in. Now that's definitely changed. Good. And to think that Mike could be done here in the next year or two, and Angelo's done at the end of the year, and Glenn is, Glenn's got however many years he wants to have left. Glenn's not doing Monday through Friday anymore. The guys that when we were coming up that were the full-time guys that have been doing this for 30 years are, they're in the twilight of their career.
Yep.
Yeah. It's strange. It's going to be strange when they're not around full-time anymore.
That means we're a lot older.
I can't.
We're now the old
I'm
guys.
having real problems being. I mean, Harry, you're in your 50s. Jason, are you 50 yet?
I'll
Are
be
you
50 in like 2 weeks.
Oh man,
15 days to be exact.
I'll be 57 this summer. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Man, how's Jody? You and Jody were closer in age than anybody ever realized.
Yeah, I don't know how old Jody is. He's a little bit older than me.
He's
a
got
little
to
bit
be
older than me.
62-ish.
Yeah, I'd say probably around there.
So Jody actually leads into me. He does the 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift on CBS Sports Radio on Thursday and Saturday and the Sunday. So he leads into me. So I'll listen to his last. I'll connect to. So I do the show from my house. So I connect into the studio and I'll listen to the last.
Is that the
last
Do Me
hour.
a Favor segment, John?
He does not do
Now, does he do it from his house too, John?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't do that before the pandemic, even though he had he was able to do it. He liked the everyday grind and routine of going
He's
up
a routine.
there.
He's a routinesman. Yeah.
He is a routinesman. Yep. He definitely is. So yeah, Jody's another guy that I've been listening to for 30 years.
30 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the one that sparked the interest in me when he was doing his solo show. This is before Glenn even joined.
Mm-hmm.
That I was listening to him in the late 80s.
Yeah, that's actually my first remembrance of WIP is when Brookshire left the air at 9:00, and then Angelo did the morning sports page with Mike or Jason Stark. I think Sal even did some of those. So from 9 to 10, he would bring in one of his newspaper guys. And then it was Bill Campbell from 10 to 12.
Yeah.
And then it was solo Jody from 12 to 3. And then I guess Howard did 3 to 7.
Yeah.
No. Howard was at night at that time. It was Fredericks that was doing afternoons.
That's right.
Steve-O was doing afternoons.
With Mike?
Right. No, not with Mike yet.
Before.
Solo?
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe I don't remember that. And then Chuck Cooperstein came in
for
Bill Campbell when Campbell retired. And then not long after that, I think is when it was Mac and Mac. And I saw Mac and Mac at Pizzeria Uno in King of Prussia. I went in and Jody was wearing Zumba pants.
No way. The Zumba?
And he had a mullet. Yeah, he had a mullet.
Yes.
And he was smoking a cigarette in the restaurant during the break.
Right.
Which people did back then.
Sure.
Steaming a dart.
Yeah.
God, we're getting old. We've been doing this long.
Yeah, I remember working with Steve-O at 5th and Callow Hill at WIP in that building, which was an absolute.
It was a dump.
Oh, awful.
Total dump. I worked there too.
Stairwells smelled like piss.
Yep.
It was gross. They had cameras on the parking lot because your car would get broken into. And I remember being there one day, and the jocks had parking spots because there was limited parking. So Angelo and Howard shared a spot because Angelo was there in the morning, Howard was there in the afternoon, and Howard would come in from the Eagles all hot, coming down 95.
5 minutes before the show.
Right.
Yeah.
And somebody was in his spot, and he came in and blew a coronary. Somebody just going, because you always know how Howard feels.
Right.
Which I think it makes it easy for him to manage him, because you never wondered if he was like steaming or not. Like the one day we ran out of styrofoam coffee cups was a legendary day at 5th and Callow Hill. And Big B would come walking down. You need to calm down. Unreal.
Did Big B have the button in his office where he would
That's
drop
the first place it was installed.
Yeah, that's the place.
Yeah.
Yep.
With Walter Kosk out front. Walter.
And it was also where the salespeople could not come down into where the radio people were. Like there was the DMZ. It was like a demilitarized zone where you could not go past.
There was a T in the hallway behind Kay Dufresne.
Yeah, I loved
Left was to sales, right was to programming. And if you were in sales, you were never making a right.
Right.
Or Big B would do what?
No, you're bothering my talent. Get out. He'd flip out on them. They didn't come back there for fear of the man in black.
Yep.
Sure. Walter is still there.
Walter.
Rob Cherry a couple weeks ago came in. He's back doing some part-time work.
I heard him.
Yeah. He's doing an anniversary WIP. I forget how many years it is now, how many years old it is, but he's doing an anniversary special. It's like 70 years or 80 years or whatever. So I sat down with him and gave him some stories that I had growing up listening to WIP. And WIP actually, my mom had the Chevy Nova. It was the first car I remember her having, early 80s. And it only had the AM band in it. Didn't have FM. And there was 2 stations that had music on the AM at that time, and one was WIP before it went to sports or whatever.
Yeah,
so that's the first I remember WIP was in that Chevy Nova with the buttons and the dials. Interesting.
You push the button, the thing would move.
Yep. Get your presets. Yeah,
you had to pull them out,
right?
And push it back in.
Yeah.
Oh, that car was such a hunk of junk. You could run into a wall and it wouldn't even dent it.
So classic. That's funny. That's amazing. Yeah, it's been around a long time. I spent 13 years there. That's scary just to even think about. What'd you learn from Harry? You said you learned something from everybody you worked with. What'd you learn from Harry?
Well, I didn't really work with Harry.
No, we didn't really do hardly any show. Maybe
shows.
Like a handful of shows, maybe over the time, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what Harry was great at? Harry was excellent at just kind of staying out of the crosshairs of being involved without being too involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Stirring the pot is what Harry was very good at.
But no one ever disliked Harry, right? No. Like that's like Mike always liked Harry.
The program director did.
Well,
you're the wrong guy.
Nahagian always liked you. But yeah, so my first day interning at WPEN, Mike McMonigal, who was the promotions director, was supposed to be there to greet me, and he wasn't in work that day. So I sat in like the lobby, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't know where he is," and I'm like, "Well, all right." And then Harry came in and got me, because at the time, Harry, you'll remember this. WPEN flipped. You were doing morning updates. It was a Fox Sports radio show. I think it was Steve Zabin that was doing the Fox Sports radio show.
Exactly right.
So you were doing the morning updates on Fox Sports Radio, and this was late 2005.
Right. It was October 3rd, 2005 was the first day, and I was the first voice heard on the radio as WPEN Sports, because I did the 6 o'clock, like John said, update to start that morning show. So it essentially started at 6 a.m. that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was the last, I signed off WPEN 9:50 a.m. at least.
Is that right?
I signed it off. Yep. I signed it off.
It was flipped FM.
I don't know if it was 6 or 7 o'clock, but yeah, it's where it went to what it is. I guess it's still family radio right now. It's still religious radio or whatever, but I signed off of it. So there you go.
Right. So that's where we went from AM to FM then, right?
Well, we were already on FM. They had the simulcast.
Oh, okay. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
They sold the AM because what do they need? A shitty AM signal.
Yeah.
When you have the FM. So yeah, but I mean, back in those days, it was one of the first jobs I had at WPEN was the Jim Rome show. I did updates for the Jim Rome show, which was 12 to 3.
Rackham.
Right.
Yeah. And it was like sometimes he would pause for so long, you would wonder if you got knocked off the air.
Right.
You do like a 7-second pause. You're looking at it like
pause.
Emergency tapes at the transmitter would kick in.
Right.
Yeah, he was just looking for his next script paper to read. What he was looking for. So yeah,
work there though.
Yeah,
Brian Seltzer.
I actually Seltzer. I mean, all the originals. One day we're gonna have to have a reunion when everybody's like 60, 70. You'll be 70.
I'm almost there. Yeah, I'm almost there. We better do this while I'm still alive.
Yeah. You won't make it to 70. Let's face it.
We don't want to honor Harry posthumously.
Right.
The thing I remember about Harry at the Fanatic the most is walking by the studio, the glass there. And when he worked with Tony, he'd be sitting in the chair like this, and he'd be looking under his glasses. They put one hand on the phone because you never knew when Tony was going to go, all right, Harry, let's go back to the phone.
Yeah.
You always had to have your hand up because you had to operate the phone for him.
Right. Yeah.
He'd be too, frenetic with the soundboard and his iPad and the 1,000 things he had going on.
Where is Tony these days? I know you talked to him on one of your podcasts somewhere recently.
I still think he's in South Jersey, living in his fifth wheel camper.
Well, he got the truck, Harry. He got the Dodge Ram.
Yeah, I know, but that's what he'll use that to eventually take the fifth wheel to Florida when his home is built. He bought property down there, and I guess his house is being built. So I still think he's in Jersey.
Does he have heat, or is he just living off the land?
No, he doesn't live off the land.
He
does a show every once in a while. He does a show.
Tony Bruno off the grid.
Literally.
No filter radio, I think, is the streaming service.
Boy.
Yeah, I occasionally will
absolutely.
see a Tony Bruno
Into
tweet
the night.
or
Yeah.
something like that. So all right, well, I'm
He's
glad to hear
insane
Tony's
as ever.
still doing his thing.
Yeah.
And he's still doing the show every day. It's just not
Oh
on
yeah.
the air.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When you guys would get done the show, Har, when you were doing it till noon. And
well,
John
then you
and
had the after show.
Yeah, then the after show back there in the prep area,
Mhm.
and he'd be full tilt performing for everybody, usually through the entire John and Sean show.
And that was the point where I'm already worried about the next day. Like, what the hell are we going to talk about? And I'm like scouring the internet and trying to figure out what we might do for tomorrow, because I knew he wasn't going to do that until 20 minutes before the show.
Well, he was never worried about what to talk about.
No.
He just wanted to play drops and do his thing.
Yeah.
Let's go to Jose from Norristown. He'll kill 20 minutes, Har.
Yeah, right.
That in the show sheet.
Right.
Yeah,
I remember one day it happened 100 times, where he would have gone through the entire show sheet by 10:15. The show started at 10, and I looked at him. I go, during the first break, now what are we going to do?
You know what else we got today, Har?
Yeah, exactly.
He'd be 8 minutes into the show. The Eagles just lost to the Cowboys. He'd be like, the deal of the week, Har.
Yeah, I'm
and
Eagles
the hate
out.
team will come out of his office like,
Yeah,
I heard.
Flip
it out.
He was not capable or not willing to stretch that topic from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from the Sunday Eagle game. He was done with it. He had passed it by Monday. It was over.
Yeah, well, usually by 12 minutes after 10, he was passed.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's to do national radio for as long as he did.
Yeah,
and we know this, and like it's you have to talk about what the people want to hear, and what people want to hear locally is unfortunately a lot. You're grinding a lot on the local sports.
Right.
Tony did national radio for so long. A lot of times you're reading the headlines and then you're entertaining all the other stuff, and that's
you're
what Tony
bopping all over.
Yeah, you're not
place.
grinding.
Yeah.
You're not grinding over one time.
Tony's original Mark Willard national show on Sporting News Radio was a great show.
Yeah.
And I talked to Mark Willard's in San Francisco now on our Odyssey station out there, and Hagen actually hired him. But I've talked to Mark about those days, and they were some good shows.
Oh yeah,
there were some good times right there. And then your first round, I don't know how many times you and Tony had shows together, but your first round, was good time.
We had 2 or 3 rounds. Yeah, and the first that started, you remember, when Tony was in California and I'm in Philadelphia, and I couldn't see him. That was before Zoom and all this StreamYard and all this stuff. So I'm doing the show blind with him and not being able to see him. And you guys know the way he is. I mean, he's all over the place. That was one of the biggest learning experiences I ever had. Those first 2 weeks of doing that show until I sort of got a little bit comfortable with it. I didn't sleep much.
It's an amazing thing though, Har. Like I heard him do shows with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But you were the only guy I thought that could ever really like truly get the most out of him and him get the most out of you. The way you guys played off each other. I don't know why it works. So
I don't know either.
I think part of it's you're just kind of like your lack of dealing with bullshit and the way you do it. Like the Harryisms. If you have to tell me you know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing.
No, getting back to what you learned from Harry just like when I started working with Tony, it was you got to get more out of Tony, right? Like Tony's not giving opinions, Tony's not doing this, Tony's not doing that. But you're never going to work with Tony and get him to change, right?
Right.
Like you have to be the best version of yourself when you work with Tony. That's gonna work with him, right? So I learned pretty fast that you can't force him to do a local radio show that the program director wants you to do. You have to try to get the most out of him a different way. And Harry, you were the best at doing that.
And that was the constant struggle, because then you had the program director on this side of it giving me bullshit every day about how
and not sending it to him.
Right, exactly.
Kind of like John and I would get when we worked with Mike sometimes.
Right.
Like, why is he's got a guest in here, Charles Barkley's in. Why is he going to the phones?
Yeah.
Like, why does it Bob and Bryn Mawr? Why do we care about that when we got Barkley sitting here?
Right.
You know what it is? It's a crutch, right? And I'm not saying this in a negative way.
It is though.
But you know this, Jason, and it's happened to me before. When the phone shuts down and you can't go to the phones. And unfortunately, a lot of the shows in Philadelphia, you're gearing what you're talking about to take phone calls.
Right.
So when you don't have phone calls, it's difficult to do a show.
Yep.
So I remember on a couple of occasions where the phone system went down, and it's like, dude, there's no more commercials to take. Like,
what do we do?
We got to do a segment without. Yeah,
where's the
like,
emergency
let's just take another
CD?
break.
Get the emergency CD.
Right. Exactly. And it's like, what? Call somebody to do an interview. The
Right.
phones are broken.
Yeah.
We can't.
We could
calling
text one
anybody.
and read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike would
And so,
Mike would take that as a sign.
but that's
was
the like, and that's what that was just like, all right, it's just kind of like, all right, we better take a phone call. It's been too long since we've taken a phone call.
Mhm.
Let's go to the phones.
Let's go to the phones.
Yeah, and I remember a couple times when the phones went down with Mike, and I was just like, dude, who cares? Like, let's just do a show.
Do the show.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we extrapolated it the one day we didn't have phones for literally. We finally got them back at like 5:30, right before sound off.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, like, have people call the sound off line, then we can plan. I'm like, no, we're not doing all that. Let's just do a show. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, what are we doing here? Do we need to hear from Bob from Tennessee that much?
Hey,
You know,
there was
he's
one
gonna
day.
call tomorrow.
And Johnny knows where this place is, the Kitchen Bar. Remember that? We used to do shows from up there in Abington.
Yep.
Me and Bruno we had a weekly lunch time show there. I think it was maybe a Wednesday. And we go up there and, doing those bar remotes when you're doing a midday show is weird because there's nobody in there when you first start your show. Like people show up to eat lunch and have a couple beers and whatnot. But for the first hour or so of your show or whatever, it's dead in there. It's just that the workers just walking around. So we're in there and Tony's he's shot, on the day with nothing much to talk about. And it's early. He goes, let's go to the phones. And I pointed to the phone screener. There wasn't a call on the board. And he's just doing his thing. He goes immediately back into, the Tony, and he played a drop and he goes, no, let's go back to the phones. I go, Tony, there's no freaking calls. I'm pointing at the board. He went to the phones twice in about a 2-minute span on this remote in this empty bar restaurant. And there weren't any calls. I'm like, what are we doing? I felt like Nahagian, like, what are we doing?
Can we have some awareness here?
And that's where you go to the show sheet and read the deal of the deal of the week.
Yeah. Oh my God! Coming up
great.
tonight,
You know
the
what
Jaws
else is
show.
going
Huh?
Yeah, it's classic.
Last
You know what's going on with Mike Lissinelli today?
Yeah.
He's coming up at 2:00. He'll take you.
Yeah,
Tuesdays with
that's
Sal.
in 3.5 hours.
Yep. I had a hard time working with Anthony because I'd have something I'd be going on like some mini rant and he'd cut me off first of all, and then he'd be like, "No, you forget about that." I'm like, "No, I'm trying to make a point." No, that doesn't matter. No, forget about that. It's not about that. I'm like, way to just grab a chainsaw, start it, and cut my legs off.
Just piss on what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
Yeah. Forget about that. What do you mean forget about that? He got so pissed off at me when I came into the studio one morning. We started the show, and I said, "Oh, I'm winded." He goes, "Why?" I go, "I had to rush here. I was down on Broad Street putting my lawn chairs out because the Sixers beat that Chinese national team, and Ben hit a 3." He was so pissed. What do you mean? Because he was all excited.
Oh yeah. 76ers, awesome.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right, John, I know you got to run, man. Thanks for doing this, brother.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. It's good to reconnect with you.
Of course, I love it, man. Anytime.
You and Ike in
Love
the
you guys.
afternoon on WI Pay.
Pay.
And then you're doing the Saturday into Sunday overnight program on CBS Sports Radio.
Yeah, it's always great not sleeping on Saturday and the Sunday.
Man,
Right.
what a good way to fuck
I
up your
sleep from
sleeping
like
habits.
9:30 to 11:30, and then I get up and I
Wow.
watch Sports Center and I do it. But I was doing afternoon stuff before. I was doing like weekend afternoon stuff, and it's just so hard with the kids having their activities and stuff. And I was missing baseball games and shit, so I wasn't going to do that. So I do this, and it's a lot of fun.
And it's John Marks Media on Instagram and Twitter. Is that right?
JONMARKS Media. John
Yeah.
Marks Media. You can my DMs are open.
Beautiful.
Ladies?
I mean, threat me.
Nudes?
No,
Nudes?
there's not usually nudes. There are threats. Egg send me threats.
Oh,
Which is
I
always
love
welcome. So appreciate you having me though.
All right, tell the camera we said hello.
yeah.
Will do.
That's great.
Love those guys.
He calls me every once in a while. I'll get
Does
a
he?
camera voicemail. That's great. Want to check on you, see how, make sure everyone's doing great. He's a maniac. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
There he is. Johnny Marks. He can drop off now, too, because we got to talk about Parx real quick. That was awesome. I'm glad we got to catch up with John.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
You forget about a lot of the shit that went on and that we did.
Yeah.
And then you bring somebody into the mix, and that happens. Oh, my God. So funny. Real quick before we get to telling people about Parx, you because it kind of plays into Parx and futures. Brady coming back here. How about the balls on this guy? The guy's got 7 Super Bowls, like every record in the books, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not done."
It's incredible. It really is. And we talked about March Madness, and how people don't really seem to have the same zip that they used to have or we had years ago. He took March Madness and took it right off the map on Sunday.
Oh yeah,
because that's when the brackets come out and all this stuff.
And
all anybody wanted to talk about was Tom Brady's coming back. After this couple of weeks of retirement. I mean, I don't even know how many weeks it ended up being. It lasted as long as like one of those Kardashian weddings back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's incredible. And Aaron Rodgers staying put in Green Bay. And Brady coming back to Tampa.
And
now
Russell
with
Wilson
leaving and going to the AFC, the sort of a shift, if you will, there would have been a big shift in the quarterback structure of the NFL. And now Brady coming back at least for one more year. He's still got a lot left, man. I mean, you think about, how well he played last season. And, it's remarkable to think that a guy at that age, in that contact of a sport, he's only had one significant injury, and he got it the first week of the season way back. What was it, 2007, I want to say.
Matt Castle came in, right?
That's right. And, he's been vertical for all these games, and he's going to give it one more go. I'm glad, too, because I'm really not ready to watch the NFL without Tom Brady in it. I've always been a big fan.
Me too, because I'm talking about him coming back down at the Flyers the other night because it happened on Sunday. And I'm going, you know what? I almost don't remember the NFL before Tom Brady at this point.
Like Brady and Manning were such a fixture back in that early 2000 period, and you think about that's 20 some years ago.
I mean, Peyton Manning's been retired for a long time now at this point.
It seems like it, but he never leaves your consciousness because he's on commercials and, doing the Manning stuff I love that stuff they did on Monday Night Football. I thought that was pretty good.
The Manning cast.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, we may have to do something like that. Find something to do an OG's cast for, like a live commentary type thing.
Right.
I don't know what would make sense though, Har. Maybe the AVN Awards.
Do they even do that anymore?
I don't know.
Yeah,
COVID probably, really put a damper on
that.
Yeah. Social distance AVN Awards is like,
that doesn't really work.
Yeah. It's like watching baseball. Nothing happens now.
No.
I'd love to see Brady come back, just win one more and kind of go off. But I'm all for him coming back to it, even though he played for the evil empire and the Patriots. And usually when guys have success, that breeds hate. Yeah. I have no hate for the man. Just total respect.
To me, he's the GOAT. I mean, I don't hate any of the GOATs. It's part of the reason why, at least I watch sports, and I think you too. You want to see greatness. You're hoping to see as much greatness as you possibly can. I mean, Tiger Woods. A lot of people love him or hate him, but I mean, how can I hate him? He's the the best that ever did it.
Yeah, and because you respect it. And the thing about it with those guys is, like, I think Brady's the GOAT of GOATs in all of team sport. I can't find a guy. Like Wayne Gretzky was great. He may have been more dominant but that's the sport too. Like, and LeBron or Jordan, same thing in basketball. But to me, Brady's the GOAT because of the numbers don't lie. The eye test doesn't lie. The longevity is off the charts in that sport to boot. And to me, there's nothing hateable about his personality to me.
No, I mean, how can you? I'd love to play golf with him.
Yeah.
Spend 4 hours on a golf course with that guy. It'd be awesome.
All right. Let's put a wrap on episode number 15 of the OG's podcast. Let's tell people about the Parx Sportsbook. Once again, you got the new app.
Yeah, I just downloaded it this morning.
Yeah, we'll be telling people a lot about that in subsequent episodes coming up. But you can download the app, check it out. And Harris said the new one's nice and easy to navigate, which is awesome. And you can get in all the player performances, same game parlays, props, you name it. All great stuff there. And you can play games in so many different ways than the old school of spreads and money lines, which is awesome.
But I did take 2 games in the NCAA tournament on Thursday already. Boise State plus 2.5 over Memphis, and then Vermont at night plus 5 over Arkansas.
Okay, so you got those 2 plays to get it on the Parx app. Make sure you download it, open up an account, deposit your first bet risk-free up to $500. You do not need a promo code. So just get the app, open up an account, deposit, boom, you're going to be good to go. And you get that first bet risk-free up to $500. You can use it on one of Harry's plays there as well. And make sure you follow Parx on the social channels, at Parx Sportsbook on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You'll get great content there, daily specials, and tons more. And probably some information about the new version that's coming out, which is awesome as well. Harry, this was a lot of fun today. We'll crank it up again next week.
You got it. Have a good week.
Everybody, thanks for listening to Geez, episode 15.